Record business borrowing in 2020, alternative lender ESME closes its doors, and open banking takes a step closer. All of this in the latest Business Finance Bulletin. Let's open this bulletin by reviewing a new report issued by the British Business Bank taking a look at business borrowing in 2020. Now, the British Business Bank, in case you're not aware of them, is a government body and is an umbrella organisation and home to all of the government's finance-related schemes. So to say, this latest report has taken a look at what businesses did in terms of borrowing last year. Now, the report, perhaps not surprisingly, highlights that 45% of businesses took on external finance in 2020, and that compares to an increase of 13% in 2019. So we can see the staggering difference in the kind of appetite to borrow money between those 2 years. In terms of the money that was borrowed, well, banks lent out new loans totaling £104 billion, and that was an increase of 82% compared to the previous year. So we can just see the sheer volume of debt that businesses have taken on. So what have they used the money for? Well, of the money borrowed, perhaps not surprisingly, 89% of it was used to plug cash flow gaps purely and directly as a result of COVID. Interestingly, only 8% of them used the money to pivot or reshape their business model in response to what had happened. Perhaps, who knows, in 2021, we may see more use of the forthcoming recovery loan scheme in order to change the way that businesses kind of operate. So in terms of the money that's been left over, what have they been using it for? Well, it does seem that 23% have said that they have spent all of their COVID funds that they had. Only 19% have got anything left. So it does kind of mirror the conversations I've had. There are some businesses out there who are very much still sitting on their funds, with the idea perhaps in terms of the bounce back and the CBILS that they may pay the money back just before that 12-month payment moratorium ends. And this hoarding of cash actually also reflected in the report, which highlights that there's been an increase of 20% in terms of the deposits that banks are holding for businesses. And that now stands at £252 billion worth of cash that they are sitting on. So it just shows that there is plenty of capacity left for businesses to both borrow and spend cash as well. What about forward-looking and growth plans? Well, 21% of businesses say that they are now planning to grow this year. So early signs of confidence coming back into the market. So overall, great to see that there is confidence there, but clearly businesses are sitting on a huge mountain of debt that's going to have to be tackled eventually. As I mentioned in the previous segment, there's been a great appetite amongst businesses to borrow money. However, there's one sector that has been doing very well right up until pre-COVID, up until mid-2020, and that was the alternative finance sector. Now, up until then, from about 2016 onwards, this sector had a very good boom period. The banks were a little bit reticent of dealing with small businesses, probably couldn't scale up fast enough and weren't agile enough to deal with the speed that businesses were expecting to get money, and so the alternative finance market rose up. However, in 2020, many of them have now seen a slump in demand for finance, with businesses naturally gorging on CBILS and bounce back money. Well, the first major casualty has been announced. Nat West, you may not know because it wasn't that well known a brand, had actually launched an alternative finance provider called ESME or ESME. Now, they announced this week that the ESME brand is now going to be closed. It's closing its doors to new applications. Nat West have said that they've taken a look at where they're going to place their resources and have decided to focus their efforts on the wider market instead of supporting that small end of their portfolio. So the ESME or ESME market is closing its doors. If they've got applications in the flow at the moment, they will obviously be finished, but they're not taking any new loan applications. And it may be a sign of things to come, where some of these smaller lenders who have seen demand just fall away may possibly be closing their doors during 2021. And of course, that makes the kind of access to finance market even tighter. So watch this space. It'll be interesting to see how this develops over the coming months. What does the term open banking mean to you? Well, probably not a lot, but some of you may have started hearing a little bit more about it. Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, I brought up this issue of open banking and how it was going to be rolling out to make life easier for you. And now there's some developments, which means you are probably going to hear a lot more about it. Now, first of all, what is open banking? Well, as you can appreciate, I'm sure there are many of you out there who have got credit cards in different institutions, you've got different bank accounts, you've got different savings accounts. All of these are scattered across various financial institutions. So it can be a bit of a pain pulling all this information together. Now, under open banking, and it has already started, there are apps out there now where you can pull all this information into one place. So you have a complete overview of all of your financial position in one place. Another use of open banking is lenders. At the moment, if you were to approach a lender, historically, they would be asking you to send in bank statements. Under an open banking protocol, they can now go in and extract all that information with your permission direct from the bank. So it helps them make swifter and quicker decisions. So why do I bring up open banking now? Well, the main 9 high street banks have got together and will be forming a service company called CMA 9. The idea is that they will help roll out open banking so they can all move along much faster to make the industry much more efficient. So when this company gets going, you'll start to see more opportunities coming out to take better control of your finances. So this is undoubtedly a good step. Then we start to see a bit more momentum behind open banking. At the end of the day, as I said, it's designed to make it easier for you to be in control of your finances, which perhaps is no bad thing. Well, that's it for another bulletin. As ever, I hope you enjoyed watching. And if you did, please don't forget to give it a like and a share and subscribe to this channel. So that's it. Look forward to seeing you next time. In the meantime, have a great, successful, healthy, profitable and safe